Where did you come from? What does your family tree look like? Are you a descendant of kings and presidents? Or maybe your family has no traceable history at all. There are people in my family who love doing genealogies. They tell me we have several prominent and important people in our history. I usually say to them, "You do know there's a whole bunch of hillbillies like us in there too, right?" Overall, for every prominent person, there's probably 20 not so impressive people in our family tree. There's even some pretty sketchy folks in there. It turns out the people related to Jesus were not so wonderful either. Welcome to Building Mettle, brought to you by Baird & Wilson Sheet Metal. In our last episode, we looked at the one who gave Jesus his name, the humble builder named Joseph. We learned this from the very first book of the New Testament, the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew begins his book with a very long genealogy, a list of the ancestors of Joseph leading up to the child, Jesus. Now you would think, well, all of the ancestors of Jesus must be outstanding. Actually, not so much. Most people just pass over this section of the Bible. It's just a long list of names. But this list of names includes liars, murderers, thieves, adulterers, idol worshippers, and a prostitute. Why would Matthew list these people? Well, the Gospel of Matthew was written to prove that Jesus is the one who was promised to come. Remember the promise about the coming seed of the woman who would crush the serpent's head? This list works like a seed map. It shows all the people that God used to fulfill his promise to save humanity. Matthew skips a lot of people after Adam in the beginning and then goes right to a man named Abraham. God chose Abraham in Genesis 12 to be the one through whom the promised king, the Messiah, would come, who would bless the world. Abraham had a son named Isaac. Isaac had twin sons, but the promise went to the one named Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons, but God said that it would be through the son named Judah that the king would come. Then we have a whole bunch of interesting men and women in the list, which lead us to the great king of Israel, David. God said in 2 Samuel chapter 7 that a descendant of David would sit on the throne forever. He would be called the Son of David. On the list, we see that David had a son named Solomon, and from King Solomon, things go badly. Some of the kings that follow in the list are good kings, but most of them are bad. Eventually, the nation of Judah becomes so corrupt that during the reign of King Jeconiah, God sends them into exile in Babylon. Something important happens to that name on the list, Jeconiah. In the book of Jeremiah, the prophet, God pronounces a curse on this wicked king. In Jeremiah chapter 22, verses 29 through 30, it says, "This is what the Lord says. Record this man, Jeconiah, as if childless, a man who will not prosper in his lifetime, for none of his offspring will prosper. None will sit on the throne of David or rule any more in Judah." Well, this is a problem. You see, the promised king, Jesus, has to be a legal descendant of David's royal line of kings in order to be qualified to be king. But the royal line was cursed when God said that no physical offspring of Jeconiah will sit on David's throne. How does God solve this problem? The solution is the humble builder named Joseph. When Joseph gives Jesus his name, he is legally adopting him as his own son. Therefore, although Jesus is not biologically from Joseph, he inherits the legal right to the throne of David through adoption. It's in the Gospel of Luke where we have a different genealogy of Jesus, a biological one, which traces the ancestry of Jesus through David's other son, Nathan, who was never a king. Many theologians think Luke's genealogy is Mary's, the mother of Jesus. So Jesus is biologically descended from King David through Mary, but he inherits the legal right to the throne of David through Joseph, his adopted father. This is the point of the genealogies in the Gospels. So, let's look at some tools to take with us today. Number 1, no matter what obstacles are in the way, God keeps His promises. Number 2, no matter what you've done in the past, God can save and use anyone. And number 3, no matter your family background, your identity comes from God. We'll be back again next week with more tools from Building Mettle. The music of Building Mettle is a production of Jed Brewer and Good Loud Media, Oak Park, Illinois. Also special thanks to Christ Community Church, Oak Ridge, Tennessee.